All right. So I'm going to talk about a tool that can be used to resolve async conflicts wherever they occur. So an async conflict is the typical thing that happens when you have one async operation taking place over some time and another one is begun while there's already one in progress. This comes up with respect to AJAX requests and playing audio and all kinds of async. But in this illustration, I'm going to show you 5 different pluggable strategies if you use some tools that I've created. Pluggable strategies for specifying declaratively different uh, concurrency strategies, or we'll call them modes for short. So let's look at an example of a New Year's countdown where that's going to be our async operation. And what happens when we don't specify a concurrency strategy, or basically the default parallel strategy is in place? Well, we start the countdown. It starts the number of seconds counting down, and if we click it again, a second countdown will be started from the time that we clicked it the second time. So now the seconds aren't off, but do we really want a second New Year countdown working? I don't think we do. That the answer would be different if it were the like button and there were several posts you were liking. You might want those likes to be going to the server concurrently in parallel. But for a New Year countdown, it doesn't make sense. So this is why having pluggable strategies is very useful. So let's take a look at the 4 remaining pluggable strategies. These are inspired by RxJS operators, and I'll mention their correspondence, but I'm defining them a little bit differently. So parallel would have been the merge map operator. Let's see how serial, or the concat map operator, would be. So pretty much as you'd expect, if there's a countdown occurring, we're only taking 5, but then a second one is started, then we're going to take 10 total. So each of these countdowns just goes for 5 seconds and then stops. The other mode, cutoff, means if we have a timer going and we start a new one, we cut off the previous one and start the new one. This corresponds to switch map, an RxJS operator that's used for autocomplete or session timeout, for example. So cutoff is useful when new async operations are meant to replace or invalidate previous ones. Now, what if the existence of a previous operation means you shouldn't even do anything? You should just kind of ignore or mute these button presses. Well, that's what the mute mode is for. Countdown's in progress. Well, all those additional attempts to start a new countdown are just ignored. They're muted. And that would be that was the hardest one for me to find in RxJS. That would be the exhaust map operator. And before I exhaust your patience, the final mode is one that I coded up myself called toggle, or toggle map, where if you have a countdown going, then asked to start the countdown again, it's just going to treat that second press like a what do you call it? Toggling it off, essentially, right? So those are the 5 strategies. There's a code sandbox you can use to play with them. But first, let me show you this picture in all of its glorious detail. It's going to be zoom bar. It's going to be here, where those 5 strategies and their effects on some async are well documented. You can also find this in the Rx Helper library. I will then show you how these are implemented for that video. They're implemented like this. There is a year countdown component. The mode, like I said, it's very declarative. It's passed in just as a string. And then in the year countdown component, that string, it defaults to mode parallel, but that string is passed into something called use smart events, where spawn countdown is a function that begins that countdown. And the mode, like we said, is the strategy, and the observer is the set state function, basically, that is responding to each tick of the countdown. And then that use smart events basically maps the incoming mode parallel to the RxJS operator that implements it, or for the case of toggle map, where there wasn't an RxJS operator for toggle map, I implemented here in this code sandbox. So basically that's it. 5 modes, very pluggable. There's no commonplace async scenario that isn't going to be helped by you trying one of these modes. And it's in a very tightly tested tested library where you're not going to have to worry that you're introducing bugs simply because you switched a string somewhere in the code, right? That's a pretty safe change. If it matches up with a mode, you'll get that tested behavior and not have to write a lot of set timeouts and intervals and clearing and subscribing and unsubscribing yourself. So let me know what you think of that, and have a happy November 5th.